Hi, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos. I'm here with David Rosenblatt, and we're happy to have everyone here this morning. We began our service with a wonderful piece that David has written. David, will you share with us?
Yes, this is a new song I just wrote, just hot off the presses. It's a song about appreciating and noticing all the little things in your life. Sometimes it can help lead you into, not to not focus on the big stuff. We need to address that. So it's kind of an activist song. It's also a story song, and it's not a lot of bull. Well, maybe a little bit, but it's called All the Little Things. That you may have missed when you came by this the first time. All the little things that have touched your life and made you sing, don't let them pass you by. All the little things. Day not long ago, driving on the road I didn't know, I looked to my left and saw a longhorn bull in a baseball field. Made me laugh as I grabbed the wheel. I think that bull meant something. Maybe I'll get to it later in the song. But it made me appreciate all the things that you may have missed when you came by this the first time you drove by it. All the little things that have touched your life and made you smile, don't let them pass you by. She was shouting. She was shouting. All the little things. It doesn't mean that you should look aside when injustice has been done and how things are run. Mother Nature's calling us to cease the fire for peace and love. Noticing the little things can change your point of view. That's why I'm grateful for all the little things. All the little things, like flowers in the meadows, birds and bees in the brood. No GMOs in my food, thank you. Don't ignore these serious issues of trust, and not forget those who really need us. Were you downwind from the tests? Don't be downwind from that bull. Makes me grateful for all the little things that you may have missed when you came upon this the first time. All the little things that have touched your life and made you sing, don't let them pass you by. She was shouting. Don't let them pass you by. She was shouting. Attitudes of gratitude, with attitude of gratitude, well, all the little things, all the little things. Might be better to drive past that bowl with love. Thank you. All the little things.
Yes, thank you, David. We were grateful for all the little things that you bring. So I'm grateful I didn't trip here. So there was a short excerpt on Facebook from Anna R. Welliver that shares about a mother and her daughter, all right, a young girl, and they're talking about her school progress report. Now, although the progress reports steadily show a bunch of check marks, there is this one check mark off by itself with a comment, right? And the little girl asked Mom, "How am I doing, Mom?" Right? Now this child is gazing up, and she's got her little glasses, or got little smudges, and just on the tip of her nose. And you know how it is when a little child is looking at you with just that intensity, right? So anyway, she points to what the teacher has written, and she's not old enough to know what is said there yet. She's looking at those words. And of course the words now, it said read, distracted in large groups. And so this wasn't news to her mother, all right? From the time this child had been born, she had been observing life. And after pointing out all the positives that were checked off, her mom told her what was written. Now, upon hearing the news, the little girl, she was like, sort of shy smile, and she says, "I do look around a little bit, or a lot." And so her mom said, and this is before she didn't even want this child to feel any sense of shame or regret or not enough or anything. She bent down quickly and she said, "Yes, you do look around a lot. You noticed Sam sitting off by himself with a skinned knee on a field trip, and you comforted him. You noticed Banjo had a running nose, and the vet said it was a good thing that we brought him in when we did. You noticed our waitress was working really hard, and you suggested we leave an extra good tip. You noticed Grandpa was walking slower than the rest of us, and so you slowed down to walk with him. You noticed the beautiful view every time we go to swim practice. And you know what? I don't want you to ever stop noticing, because that is your gift. That is your gift that you give to the world." And in that moment, this mother watched her daughter's face just literally beam with a sense of acceptance. All right? And in that moment, the mother had an insight as well that her daughter's approach to life had the power to change the world. Rachel Macy Stafford said something like this, author of Hands-Free Life. "You see, we are all just waiting for someone to notice. Notice our pain, notice our scars, notice our fear, notice our joy, notice our triumphs, notice our courage. And the one who notices is a rare and beautiful gift." So let me ask you today to just notice what occurred within yourselves when you heard about how lovingly the mother responds to this child. Okay? Don't judge it, just notice it. And consider what effect that act of compassion that she had with her child had on their two lives. I can just see this child's whole being filled with gratitude. Can you see it on her face? I mean, it's just not only a sense of acceptance, but I can see it, and I don't even know this person, right? So just notice is the title to this message, and it's about how you and I can have a greater sense of joy and wonder in our life. Now, I love dancing, and occasionally I'll watch movies or TV shows that have dancing involved. And so Dancing with the Stars had a segment called Spotlight Dance, in which they featured someone who had gone through incredible odds in order to dance. Okay? And Richard Stilo Vasquez became one of those featured on 1st of May in 2012. Stilo and the Groovaloos were a hip-hop dance group, and as their professional leader, he was on the ABC reality show Dancing with the Stars when he had a brain aneurysm that left him with an ability not even to speak, let alone dance. He couldn't even move. He suffered this an aneurysm as a really young man, very young, and he had a very young family. Close to dying, though, Vasquez spent 9 weeks in ICU and 6 months in the hospital trying to recover. but he never once gave up the thought that he would never dance again. And so from a little more than a year later, from June 19th of 2011 to May 1st, 2012, he appeared on that show and he danced for the first time again on that show. Now, granted, it didn't look what he had before, but you could see on his face the gratitude for what he'd been able to accomplish. And you could tell that it wasn't any sense of anger or bitterness over what he had lost or over what had happened. It was true gratitude and acceptance for who he was and the gift he was then. I believe that gratitude creates an uplifting mindset for action or a deliberate choice for us to climb, to overcome. It's when you and I choose to see a situation in the highest possible light. Stilo didn't just make those choices on camera. He made them every day in order to be able to recover the way he did. American rhythm and blues singer Stephanie Sparkles said, "I love when people that have been through hell walk out of the flames carrying buckets of water for those still consumed by the fire." What an image. What an image. So one day there was a woman rushing home, like most of us. She's had a doctor's appointment, and the doctor had been delayed at the hospital somewhat, and of course, and then the lab work took extra time. I don't know about how many of you, but I've recently experienced a lot of doctor's appointments, so I get this. And it was taking longer than usual, but she also had a family to take care of, and so she was going through, she still had to pick up her prescription, she had to pick up her children from the babysitter, she had to get home, she had to make supper, and then she had her prayer group that she needed to get to that evening. So she had a busy day planned, right? And it was already running behind, and she's driving through Walmart, and then, like it says in Genesis, the windows of heaven were opened and it began to pour down rain. Okay, anyone else know how that feels? I do, yep. So she began to pray. She says, "God, you know what kind of day I've had, and you know what all I've still got to do." She said, "Please, I need a parking spot very close, and so close that I don't even have to get really wet." And then that, before she even said it, all of a sudden, as she hadn't even finished the words, right? Just the thought. She hadn't even finished the words. Someone was pulling out. She says, "Oh, never mind, God, there's something just opened up." So she pulled in and she went and did her business. It's kind of an amusing anecdote, right? But how many times do we ask Spirit for something, and then when we receive it, we really don't offer any credit, okay? We just sort of, it was just a coincidence, right? How we do sometimes. Oh, coincidentally, there's an old saying, a coincidence is Spirit acting anonymously. So anyway, when we behave that way and we fail to give credit where credit is due, so what? We've done it. How many of you have not done it? I know I have. I did it at least once, right? But this is definitely a case of what Jesus said, "Hearing you do not hear, and seeing you do not see." The truth is, she effectively stopped the flow of joy and wonder that her faith had just opened for her because she didn't let herself feel gratitude or thanksgiving. If what we want, author Amy Weatherly put it this way, some people could be given an entire field of roses and see only the thorns in it. Others could be given a single weed and only see the wildflower in it. Perception is a key component to gratitude, and gratitude a key component to joy. Have you ever thought about this? In just 100 years, 2124. If you're listening now, you and I will likely be buried. along with most of our family and friends. Strangers will live in the homes we have tried so hard to make into something better, spent lots of money. Our descendants will hardly even know who we were. How many of you know your grandparents' grandparents? No? Okay. Or even their parents? Or know of them? Anything about them? Not many of us, right? After you and I die, we'll be remembered for a few years, and then maybe just a portrait on someone's table or mantle. And even a few years later, we will simply be a memory. And in a few years there, we won't even be a memory in history. That's for the majority of us. Another thought from Rachel Macy Stafford. You're never too far gone to come back. You're never too tarnished to be made new. You're never too broken to be made whole, and it's never too late to make changes. It's never too late to begin again, and it's never too late to choose love. If we pause just one day to just notice how always having more supersedes time for what's truly valuable in our lives. If we could only think about this more, I can just see the changes that we as a people would become different. Can you see that? I can. What if at the beginning of each day, in the middle and the end of each day, we take a moment to just notice what's important right now? What's really important? And then allow ourselves to do something about that, to build our life or to create our lives around whatever we're thinking and feeling in that moment as far as what's truly important. Could you see yourselves maybe changing some aspect or your approach to life in order to live that way? To live where we enjoy the walks we've never taken, or the hugs we didn't give, or maybe even the kisses withheld from our children and loved ones, or the jokes we didn't have time for. Those would certainly, for me, be what I consider truly important in a day today. But I can remember when what was really important was being, some executive, this or that. Done that. Didn't give me any joy. Those are the moments of our lives when the most beautiful possibilities for joy and wonder present themselves. They fill our lives with that presence of joy. I really love the human species, I really do, because there is so much to laugh about how we go about our daily lives as a rule. Now, I'm not talking about when we're having tragedies or when we're in a sense of loss or anything about laughing, but about the perspective that we can gain. I can look back on some of the most horrendous things in my life, and I can actually laugh about it today and feel a sense of gratitude that occurred in my life, because it changed me for the better, whatever it was, because I made a choice. I chose to look from a higher perspective on what was happening. One of the greatest gifts of living our lives based on truth is that you and I get to discover that there is a part of us that is immune or invincible to all the loss, to the tragedies, to the hurts of the things that occur in our lives, to us, through us. And it's just a powerful experience to feel that part of us. And you and I can discover that although we may want to live our lives deeply and passionately, we can also find a compassionate perspective for ourselves and others as a result of holding that perspective that looks for that higher ground, or that looks for a way of viewing things where you can see some good through it. And rather than letting ourselves become bitter or resentful or angry as a result of seeing things for how we see the facts. It's been my experience, this perspective comes when we are able to view life with an open hand versus a closed fist. What do I mean? For example, if we have a view of life that is bitter, it's protective, it's defensive, our observations will tend to have more limitations and restrictions that we place on ourselves and others. Did you know there's a term called a glimmer? Yeah, well, it's the opposite of a trigger. Now, many of us have heard the word trigger, right? All right, well, there is a glimmer. Glimmers are those moments in our day that make you and I feel joy or happiness, peace, gratitude. And once we train our brain to be on the lookout for glimmers, these tiny moments will begin to appear more and more, with the end result that we have fewer triggers. So let me encourage you to just notice how gratitude changes everything. Try this for yourself. Instead of, I have to, prefacing everything, how many of us have said, I have to go do this, or I have to, okay. I get to. I get to go exercise. I get to see my family. I get to see my friends. I get to tell someone I love them. I get to eat good food. I get to work and earn money to make my life more comfortable. I get to experience change and new adventures and new things. I get to make someone's day better. It's all about perspective. And just making a simple little change creates an ability to see more of those glimmers, right? We get to carry more glimmers of joy and wonder and happiness in each moment than we have before by simply making that one little shift of our perspective. Melody Beatty said, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance and chaos into order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. So just notice, what is your vision for tomorrow? How many glimmers are you holding? Be holding. I found that a stance of gratitude is the one that lets in the greatest good and the fullness of my life. And there's a richness to my life. And it's all about perspective. And the one that engenders gratitude always leads to a sense of wonder and joy. So if what we're wanting is more wonder, more joy, a sense of happiness, what do we need? Gratitude. So just notice what you're experiencing with me when I say this statement. I live a life of gratitude. Think of that for a moment. How does it feel when you hear that? Now say it within yourself for a moment. I live a life of gratitude. Now join me. I live a life of gratitude. Okay. Notice what you're experiencing. Just notice, don't judge it. Don't criticize it. Whatever it is, let it be. But if you will say that enough, I live a life of gratitude, it begins to have an effect. Like the word, I get to, rather than I have to. So rather than letting criticism carry us away into bitterness, or even being highly critical of ourselves or others, into resentment. Let's not forget, as we go through more of this year, 2024, to carry and to pack a lot of gratitude. God bless you, and thank you for being with us. God bless you.